Now it's time to learn how to finish our speech. You've learned how to create the body. Remember, we're very structured, organized. We want the audience to know exactly where we are in our speech. So let's look at what we need to do to provide a good ending. We have a few requirements, and then we have an optional item that you can include. The first thing we want to do is signal the end of the speech. We want to use a little transitional phrase that indicates we're finished with the body, moving to the conclusion. The only challenge with this is sometimes your audience will tune out because they think they've already heard everything, right? There's nothing possibly new that you could say in your conclusion. So while we don't want to teach new information, sometimes it's good to keep our interest and think through that a little bit. In my conclusion, how can I maybe surprise them a little bit or really give them something to think about? We want to summarize the topic. What was it that you talked about again? And you need to summarize each main point. If you have 3 main points, you need to restate each of those main points. I know it's repetitive. You've done it in the introduction with your preview. You've talked about each main point in the body. You've had transitions in between those. But now we're re-saying it again. Yes, we are, because chances are we won't get your main points just by hearing. And we don't get it when you only say it once. So repetition is important for the audience. It is awkward and possibly uncomfortable for the speaker. But again, we are giving a speech to just people that are listening. So we want to make it easy for them. So restate, summarize each main point. You're providing them with sort of a mental checklist of where they've been. Sometimes speakers will summarize a few key subpoints if they were really important. So you're welcome to do that. And you need to have strong closing remarks. You need to have a planned ending. Make an impact. This would be very similar to your attention getter in your introduction, right? So any of those devices or ideas for attention getters can also be used here as a closing remark. Leave us with something good. Leave us with something strong, humorous, funny, a thought. Have a planned ending. This is have fun. Be creative here. Okay, so here's what not to do. This will get you an F on closing remarks. You are graded on closing remarks. No Looney Tunes ending. Some of you have watched Looney Tunes cartoons. I know they're old, but they're fun. And a character called Porky Pig comes out at the end of every one of them and says, "That's all, folks." And there's music in the background. It's really fun. But that's not good for a speech. Saying, "Oh, that's it. I'm done." That is not a good ending. That's what we're going to remember, and that's not good. So we want to have a nice, strong closing, right? How do you want to end a first date? How do you want to end a job interview? We want strong, impactful endings, right, that are positive. So Looney Tunes, you're way too abrupt. It's like you're quitting. That's it. I'm done. At the end. That's too abrupt. The Forrest Gump ending, if you've not seen that movie, one of the famous quotes is, "I guess that's all I had to say about that." And it's very wishy-washy. It's fading away. Are you sure you're done? You're not sure you're done, right? I guess that's it. And you're fading away. Your strong ending needs to be the content, right? The quotation, the story, the statements, and the delivery. Sometimes you just are wishy-washy about that and fade away. So no Looney Tunes, no Forrest Gump endings. If you do that, you will get an F on your closing remarks because you're not demonstrating you know how to close, right? So when in doubt, find a quotation. That works. It's very common, so it's not super creative or fun necessarily, but it could be. So those are the components that go into your introduction. There's one optional tool that you can include in a conclusion on an informative, so let's look at that. So what's optional in a closing on an informative speech is some sort of challenge to the audience, a call to action. We would do this in persuasive speeches when we're trying to argue and convince and motivate. But you could issue a challenge. So this is completely optional. However, if you're teaching us how to make a new dish or how to add new spices to dishes, or you're teaching us how hot air ballooning works, you might want to challenge us to try to create our own dish this weekend, or you might want to challenge us to travel and take advantage of Balloon Fiesta in Plano or Albuquerque, the world's largest balloon fiesta. And so you might want to include sort of that challenge, encourage them to use the new information or to do something with it. So a lot of topics this doesn't make sense to do, but a lot of informative topics it does. So this is completely optional on your informative. It would be necessary on a persuasive. I hope through these videos I've helped you with what goes into your introduction, what goes into the body, what goes into the closing. We want you to be creative. We want you to have fun. Remember, we're creating ideas. We're not writing essays. We're not worried about all the words. What are the ideas? And then talk about it. It's far easier to remember. It's much more natural of the delivery. I know you can do this little by little, step by step. Keep following directions. Follow my timeline. It will be fine. Keep going. You can do this.